Okay, Janet, we're live.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar with Carla. A couple quick things. Obviously, you know, we've had to change the locations. Very hard to do and very sad for the poor people of Puerto Rico. We met some great people while planning along the way, and just thoughts and prayers out to all of them and their families and the island as a whole. Our new location is Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was there this weekend. Absolutely beautiful. There's a ton to do. I am waiting to sign the hotel contract, and hopefully I should be able to make an announcement today or tomorrow morning so we can start re-registering. We have a great group activity, a lot of good spouse activities, and we also, because of the change up and how things worked, everyone will have a free day on Friday with some optional cool activities to register for. So we're looking forward to it. I'm excited. Again, it's beautiful, and there's a lot to do, a lot of history, a lot of culture. So getting us prepared and ready and excited for the annual meeting. The task force has worked really hard at planning a great agenda. Chris Shaw from Air Controls, John Hobbs, Energy, James Sandoval from J&J, and Paul Gosserin from CMC. Really worked hard at getting our agenda together, as well as interviewing speakers. And when they talked to Carla, they really liked what she had to say and felt that everybody could take something away from her presentation. Carla's works as a strategic partner in talent management. She does a lot regarding the 5 dysfunctions of a team and ways to improve the team and your organization. So I'm going to turn it over to Carla and have her take over.
Thank you, Janet, and good morning, everyone. I'm super excited to get to meet all of you face to face, and I've been doing this kind of work for about 20 years. So I actually I thought I wanted to be in sales, and I ended up in human resources, and I stayed in human capital. So I know that's sort of an oxymoron. I'm wired like a salesperson, but I like to help organizations drive business and results through people. So thank you, Janet, and thanks to all of the chair members or board members, I'm not sure if I'm calling you by the right name, but that have worked with me in selecting topics. So I know that many of you read 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and I really want to have some conversation with you. So if you're able to take your microphone off mute and contribute, that's super great. I might call on some of you, so please don't feel caught off guard, but they'll be more about questions that you might have or what you may have learned. So how many of you, let's see, who's read the book and has a comment about it? We'll start with that, because I can't actually ask you to raise your hand. Who's read a book and has a comment about it?
This is Chris. I haven't read it.
Okay, thanks. We appreciate your honesty. That's part of the 5 Dysfunctions.
I do plan on going to buy it, though.
Okay, and if you don't buy it, it's okay. We'll cover it without it. Actually, Janet, do you want to weigh in on that? I think you suggested that. You've also got a little bit of a shorter version.
Is there an audio book?
Yeah, there is, I think.
There may be. I don't know. I had found a shorter version that I had sent to them. I also recommended they read that or have the book. I've read the book, and it's a very quick read. It's very interesting, and it's really a lot about people side of things and having the right people on the bus.
Yeah, very good. All right, thank you. Any other comments on the book?
Yeah, this is Bobby.
I'm
sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, so I actually finished it last night. And the whole time I was reading it, I was trying to put it in the context of my the team we have here. And so hopefully you'll try to help us relate that to our businesses. You know, since we aren't really making products, you know, we're doing service and doing projects. But so I'm kind of interested in that.
Absolutely. So regardless of what kind of a business, you know, team members or having the right team or organizational structure is so important. and having them all work synergistically is the key. So thank you. I'm glad you liked it. I was curious if you had any thoughts. Our 3-hour session that we'll get to do in Santa Fe is really hands-on, focused on application of those 5 functions or dysfunctions. So thanks. That's a great preamble. And if you haven't read it, it's okay. You can always Google, but it's really my job as the speaker to make sure that we give you a great walking tour and application of all of that. So, and to have some fun in the process. So if we take a look at it, it's a very simple objective. It's to make substantial progress toward becoming a more cohesive team. That sounds really simple, doesn't it? There are authors that have written books on a work group versus a team, and there are differences. So a work group might be people that come together that work sort of in one purpose or maybe in their own purpose, but they are connected to one another, where a team has their eye on, let's say, one prize. They're very clear about what due north is. They're clear about where they fit into the team, and everyone is moving in the same direction as opposed to working against one another. So within organizations, we already know, sales and operations sometimes butt heads. We got to sell the service, but yet sometimes sales overpromises things, and we have a difficult time delivering on what they sell. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
So that's part of it. It's making sure that we've got clear goals and some of those things as well. So this is Patrick Lencioni, and he's the author of The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. He's based in the San Francisco area. He has an organization called the Table Group. And what I love about his work is that he makes it fun. He also makes very simple concepts, I'll call them maybe universal principles, that we listen to it and we think, well, yeah, that's common sense. But yet he gives us practical ideas to be able to work through them or identify them and come up with maybe non-negotiables or rules of engagement moving forward so that we can all work collectively together. He's written a number of other books. One of my favorites is Death by Meeting. So I think the name speaks well. Silos, turf wars, things like that. So if you get a chance, take a look at some of his other work. So now we take a look at the model. And if any of you are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what do we need to survive as human beings? Safety, food, shelter, all of those things. So it's a pyramid because really without the lower level on the pyramid, we're not able to function to get to the next step in the pyramid. So if we think about trust, trust is a very, very important part of any relationship, whether it be personal or professional. And when we don't have trust, what happens?
Hell in a handbasket.
Anyone? Yeah, hell in a handbasket for sure. So it's interesting in personal relationships, you can say, can you love somebody but not trust them? Yeah. Trust is actually more foundational than love. It's really interesting if you take a look at that. In business, we would say respect and trust kind of go hand in hand. So if we respect somebody, it's likely that we trust them. And without that trust, we're always going to be watching our back. So what happens when we don't have trust is that we all have our own agendas. We are not vulnerable. In meetings, we're not able to speak up and say our piece. We may be an invisible person on the team and not really a contributor. Or we may agree, walk out of the room, and do whatever we want to do. So that's the real important foundational piece. And what we'll do together is give you some exercises and ideas of what we can do to kind of check in on trust, and then how we can establish trust a little more effectively. Conflict is the next one. And I know in conversation with Janet, some of you have been through different types of personality assessments. So if you look at Myers-Briggs or DISC or predictive index, any of those, they usually measure how we deal with conflict. If you look at the DISC model, dominance is the one that we would review. High dominant individuals tend to be direct, focused on results, and most CEOs and entrepreneurs are high dominant. Low dominant individuals tend to avoid conflict like the plague. We call them the little crabs on the beach that run sideways as fast as they can away from conflict. So without conflict, we have artificial harmony. We don't actually have spirited conversations. We're not able to cut through the BS that we need to cut through. And that's a big piece as well. Then we go to commitment. Well, we like to tell the old food joke. Did any of you have bacon and eggs for breakfast? Well, the pig was committed and the chicken was interested, right? The pig definitely had to be committed. So if we think about commitment, or we use the metaphor of a marriage proposal, do you ever ask someone to get married to you and you are interested but not committed, right? So yeah, what would that sound like? Hey, I kind of like you, and maybe we'd get some better tax ramifications if we work together on this one. So what do you think, right? Commitment is similar in the workplace in that we absolutely have to agree and we have to move forward versus nodding our heads and bobbleheading and going, yeah, and then going away. Or if we don't know what clearly we're doing. And the next one, accountability. So it's interesting. Let's see if we can guess on this one. Statistically speaking, there's a percentage of the population that would be accountable and a percentage that would not be. So any guesses on percentage accountable first and not accountable second?
80-20?
That's a good guess. 80 accountable, 20 not? Wow, I love your optimism. I really do. Any other guesses?
I'd say 50-50.
Oh, that's exactly it, 50-50. So statistically speaking, if you looked at your own team, 50% of them would be accountable, 50% of them would not be. Now let's hope that that shakes out differently, but that is a statistic from one of my assessment partners that measures competencies throughout the U.S. and Canada, and then through the world as well. So that's a U.S. norm. That's crazy. That's really crazy if you think about it. Now we take a look at, so go back to accountability for a second. We all have to be willing to first identify first team. And by first team, that's Lencioni's language for your team, the team that you belong to. What we tend to do as managers is we protect our herds, right? So as parents, we protect our kids. As managers, we protect our team members. We might be able to have a difficult conversation with them one-on-one, but if I'm having a conversation with a peer and they're attacking one of my team members, I'm going to have at it with that peer. So we need to be able to have one another in our peer group as our first team. And that's a big piece of accountability. Also being able to take feedback and being able to be direct about giving feedback with people. The last one is about results. Obvious, that's why we're in business, because we want to deliver productively, we want to deliver profitably, and we want to continue to make our legacy in our businesses. So if we're not clear of what due north is, it's pretty difficult. And also being able to measure those. So where are we? What is, what's our scoreboard? What's our score for making sure that we're actually accomplishing our results? And importantly, what's our game plan if we're not? So a real quick check-in, and I'm going to go through these in a little tiny bit more detail. Let's see. Scott, thank you. I know you've contributed already. But what have you learned so far, just taking a quick overview at the model? And there are no wrong answers. This is just a little fun participation. Scott, you might be on mute.
Oh, yep.
There we go.
Well, I did read the book, and so I'd seen the model before, and I looked at it more, in the book they relate it to the executive team, but I think the large project team for us is where I think we can get the most results out of this, because when you look at the multiple trades and then adding CAD as a trade within the trades, it's the absence of trust is the foundation that we need to work on between pipe fitters, sheet metal, CAD, accounting, back office.
Excellent. That's a great takeaway. And I think Lencioni might suggest that the executive team needs to be in alignment first and then cascade it down in the organization. But you're right. There are definitely different teams that may glean more information from it. So thank you. Let's see. Bobby, what would you like to share, whether it be about the book, or maybe you said you didn't read the book, but what we've gone through in our overview?
Yeah, so I did read the book, but I think as I was reading it, the lack of goals in our company is the first thing I think we need to kind of work on. I feel like management team here, as far as trust is actually pretty good, but the lack of accountability due to the lack of direction, I think, is what I need to work on.
Excellent. All right, thank you. So we'll jump in a minute. I'm going to ask you some follow-up questions. And frankly, I covered these, so I'd rather have some time for dialogue on our meeting today. Here's the first one. So, rule of thumb in the absence of trust, being vulnerable. And if we talk about being vulnerable, it means different things to different people. Being vulnerable to some might be actually speaking up in a meeting, where others, it might be doing cartwheels across the lawn in front of everybody, depending on their own personal style. So what I think defining being vulnerable in your own groups or meetings, and certainly as the leaders and owners of the organization, that's a key piece, because we jokingly and not really jokingly say all problems start at the head and all problems walk on 2 feet. So for all of you, if you're able to display that, it's creating the culture for others to be more vulnerable. I think that's a key piece. Looking at conflict, when there is, someone's got a problem in a meeting, you have to walk out and call them out on it and say, hey, I know you don't agree with that. Why didn't you bring it up? That's demanding debate. Or being able to create a space where people feel safe to surface conflict. And there are some ideas around that for the more introverted styles as well. Not having clarity. So there are a few different functions that we'll take a look at in our time together. Commitment, clarification, cascading information, how we actually share that in the organization, and rules of engagement. So, do we agree what's appropriate for how quickly we respond to emails? What's our preferred communication method? Is it face-to-face? Is it text? Is it email? And certainly we have different preferences generationally, but I think having clear norms established is an important piece. And that's something you can easily do when you get back after our work together. We've talked about being able to confront difficult situations. And by the way, I'm a resource for all of this too. I've got templates on all of these that you can certainly reach out and ask me for after. But having difficult conversations, I think, is one of the most challenging things, particularly for newer managers. So likely in your roles, you've been able to deal with it because it's part of running a business, but helping some of the more junior leaders maybe in the organization is important. But also, one of the activities that I like to have people do in a coaching relationship is to go do, I'll call it a mini 360 or 360 feedback on themselves. So I ask them to actually go out, pick 5 people, and not everyone that just likes them, and maybe give them 1 to 3 bullet points on what's effective in their leadership style, and 1 to 3 bullet points on what they could do to be more effective. And then when giving feedback about the feedback, thank them generously, ask clarifying questions, but not to get defensive. People would probably rather have Chinese torture than do that, but it's interesting to see what people come back with, because we can also see the level of transparency with people doing that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that together. And ultimately, what is our, due north for the organization? I think it's really a key piece to identify not only where we're going this year, and in the US, we tend to have flavors of the month. So this is our goal for this quarter. But next quarter, it might be different. In Japan, when they create a vision statement, they do it for 100 years. I think we do it for 100 minutes. And it's okay to change. We've got to be flexible with what's happening in the marketplace and for your business needs. But we need to keep everybody informed, and we need to broadcast those results too. So that's a piece there. So as we become more functional, and I don't love to talk about the 5 dysfunctions of a team because it's a little bit off-putting. It helps, sometimes people might think, well, what do you mean I'm dysfunctional? That doesn't sound very nice. But yet, as we uncover those, our goal is to really be an optimized and highly functional team. What are the rewards? We are better with our competitors. We are the key differentiator. When we think of, HVAC, you are the obvious choice. That's a key piece. So we can produce things more quickly, we make better decisions, and we have higher retention as well. So let's do this really quickly. We're going to actually do an exercise. So one of Lencioni's exercises is called the lightning round. And here's an example that you get to take right away today, next meeting. And when you go around in your weekly or biweekly or whatever, how frequently you meet with your team, giving them airspace. So 30 seconds or less to talk about their key priorities of the week. And certainly you could change that. It could be, the obstacles that they faced last week, how they manage those obstacles. It could be I've heard people use this term, it's kind of hokey, but cheers for peers. Maybe they want to acknowledge someone on their team or another team member in the organization. You could change the topic, but the idea is that you're creating fast communication where people talk quickly, we get up to speed on what's happening on whatever that topic is, and everyone is involved. So for our time today, and I'm going to ask all of you who are on mute to get ready to jump in here. Let's just hear, in terms of your business, what was a win? Let's talk about wins today. So what's a win that you've had in your business recently? And I'm going to go down the list from what I can see. So we'll start with you, Bobby Grimes.
Okay. Yeah, last Friday we got another preventive maintenance contract.
Congratulations. Thank you. And I have two other Chris's. I have a Chris without a last name, and then I have Chris Jordan. So we're going to go with Chris without a last name, please.
Well, that's nice.
Sorry.
Damn, I don't know what the hell to say.
Lightning round.
Can you skip me and come back to me?
Sure, we'll skip you and come back. Chris Jordan?
Well, I've been on mute. The biggest win, I think, probably in the last 6 months was hiring Steve Adams.
Oh, wow.
Woo! Wait, where's my brown pen? It's getting thick and deep already. All right. Gotta love it. Okay, thank you. Let's see, Gary Griffin.
We just recently had to replace our human resource manager, and we've found a good candidate and hired him.
Congratulations. That's a big deal. All right, James, and I might not say your name right, Blosh?
Oh, Blau.
Blau, sorry. James Blau? All right, James, we're skipping you for the moment. James Sandoval.
I survived another Monday.
Congratulations. Yesterday was a tough Monday.
Yeah, we reached our new maintenance sales goal for the year. Good.
Congratulations. Wow, that's a big deal. I hope you have pizza for everybody. Ryan?
Starting to think this dictatorship structure that I've put in place over here is not really what you're looking for in this company.
You're funny.
This summer we had 2 construction projects. I'm here in Utah, and the Utah Jazz team did a huge remodel on their the arena they play in and on their practice facility both. And we were fortunate enough to be involved with both projects with real intense schedules. And we're able to have both very good projects from a production and also financial position. So those were 2 wins.
That's huge. And I saw that on the news. That was a significant project. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Scott?
We were awarded a negotiated design assist large dorm project up at CU. So we got to ring the bell on that one about a month ago.
Oh, awesome. Always great to ring the bell. Thank you. Steve Adams?
Yes, here recently we've won a couple of new preventative maintenance contracts with some higher education groups here in Maine. And also here just recently, Chris, who spoke up earlier, has built us a new service department here on the property. So we're very happy to be in our new offices up here and back behind the building. We really appreciate the new space.
Yeah, congratulations. Very cool. I have someone listed as the Unified Group Web, so I don't know how to identify you.
That's probably us. Oh, our biggest thing we had going on. We moved the annual meeting in 2 weeks after months and months of work, so I'm pretty proud.
Should be. Congratulations. Anyone else there with you, Janet?
Sam and Tim.
Okay, so Sam, you're up next, please.
I would say that our last forum was a huge success for us. We got great reviews, and members have said that they're continually impressed with what we're doing. So,
congratulations. And did you say Kim with a K or Tim with a T?
Tim with a T.
Tim here.
Hi, Tim. Thank you.
We were just notified we're receiving a nice award from the local Building Engineers Society, which is all our customers. So we're getting their top award for the year. So nice honor.
Awesome.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right, Tracy?
Yeah, Tracy sent me a text that his mic's not working, but he did shoot a doe this weekend.
Hey, that's a win.
That's
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Yeah, and they don't always have to be professional. That's a big win. Tyler?
Yeah, I think a couple things. We've picked up a couple of important construction jobs, and our backlog is strong, and we've gained some insights on our sheet metal shop that I think are going to drive us to a little more efficiency in the future.
Excellent. Congratulations. All right. Chris, back to you. Sorry, you're not off the hook.
Damn it. So the biggest thing in the last few weeks is we set up a deal with the credit union to have financing available through service or projects. So just thinking out of the box for our area for financing.
That's very smart. Awesome. All right, we'll try James B. one more time, and then we'll call it a wrap. James B., are you there? James Brown. All right. Well, that was excellent. And so very simple. It helped me learn a lot about you in a very short period of time, what your wins are. And I know we probably don't really love bragging about ourselves, but I appreciate that you were able to do that. And not bragging, but sharing, the hard work and accomplishments that you have. That's a big part of having a high-performing and functioning team as well. So I want to leave you with a few questions before we wrap at the end of our time today. So when we think about the 5 dysfunctions that we've covered, which one is impacting your business most? And it was great to hear some of you already identify that. Which teams may need the most help? Which of those dysfunctions may need the most help? I will say this. If you don't have trust, don't focus on the other 4. Certainly focus on trust first, because I think that's a key one. And also, which one are you performing? Where do you have the least problems? Is everyone committed, or is everyone accountable? I think it's important to acknowledge the successes that you have, as well as uncovering some of the speed bumps that you might have. When we get together, for our time, what are you most interested in? What do you want to learn? And if you want to shoot me a note or an email on anything in advance, that can help me tailor things more specifically to you. But what is it that would impact you? My goal is all to provide fun, informative, helpful information, but importantly, application. So if we don't take it back and actually do something with it, in my book, it's a complete waste of time. So think about that. What is the most important piece of information, or what we can do to share that and actually move the needle when you get back? And a different question, I love to ask this one. This is great. Now you've thought about yourselves, what is your perspective? But if you asked your team members what the worst dysfunction is in your group, what would they say? And would that align with what your thought process is? So I'll leave you with those questions. And Janet does have a copy of the presentation. What questions do any of you have at this point?
Real quick, it's Jan. I wanted to let you all know that there is an assessment that we are asking everybody to complete prior to the annual meeting. It is scheduled to go out. It is the 5 dysfunctions of a team assessment that Carla sent over, and we're going to give her those results prior to us meeting. It's scheduled to go out at 10:45 today. So you should all see a link from me via SurveyMonkey. It'll take you 5 minutes to complete. So if you could please do that, we would appreciate it.
Thank you. And a quick note on that, when you answer it, think about your own team, not the unified group. So it's not how you fit into the association, it's how you would rank your own team, so that we can take a look at that collectively. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Gary. I'm curious. I think, I guess this has been a summary sort of what you're going to cover.
Yeah.
I hope one thing we can do, 2 things I'll say, and whoever spoke up first, I think kind of touched on it. Was that Bobby? One is to find examples that apply to our own business and our own challenges, because we probably share a lot of those challenges. And then 2 is to figure out how we can introduce these concepts throughout our organization effectively in other words, if we all walk away with it, we still have the challenge of implementing it with our organization. And I've read the book and we've done some training on this. And how far we take it into our leadership ranks has been a question mark. We've taken it pretty far down to the foreman level. And do we take it further than that is where we are now? And then the second is we did it 3 years ago. Do we repeat the same training, or do we somehow try to find a different way to reinforce it with the people who were here 3 years ago, or introduce it initially to the new people that are here? Because implementation seems to be, these are all great ideas. Implementing them really is the hard part.
Yes. So the way that we've designed our time together, and I know we had some different conversations about that, but even what we did today, we actually had an example of the lightning round. And I realize hope isn't a business strategy, but my hope is that you'll take it back and actually implement that next week, because we're giving you something that's very simple, it's practical, it's hands-on. And so as we go through each one of the 5 dysfunctions, I will give you at least one activity that we'll do together in the group, and that way you'll learn from one another with some of those challenges, which hopefully will address the first question, that are applicational to your business, and 2, that you can easily take back and apply to your businesses. Some of the exercises really probably do require an outside facilitator, but some of them are very simple. And as a certified facilitator for him, I can go out and do a big team, or we can actually do it train the trainer style. So we can focus more on that, on how do we take this back and use it, depending on your input. So Janet, that might be a good survey question to ask too. Would we like it to be more about us, or how we take this back and apply it? I think it will naturally occur, but that's very helpful. Did that answer your question, Gary?
Yeah, I think hopefully we'll spend a lot of time sharing ideas on how we can share this, on how we can implement.
And my quick thought on, do we do the same training? I think yes, I would actually do the same training to get the new people up to speed, and it's a good refresh for the ones that have been there. They sometimes complain about it, the horse is dead, let's leave it. But then they usually say, hey, I learned something different. And the way the model works is that it's experiential. So not like it's just a concept and you're learning it. It's what did the team come up with in relation to the concept. So I think it's always different. It has a sort of a life of its own. Thank you. Great comments. Any other questions? Chris, it looks like you're talking, but we couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm just playing with my pen.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay, well, it sounds like we're at the bewitching hour, so I want to say thank you so much. It's been a privilege and an honor to spend some time with you today. Janet, great work on moving our venue. We're excited to see everyone in Santa Fe. And if you do have any questions, Janet's got my email. Please shoot me a quick email or a note on anything more you'd like to see. Excited to see you all, and have a great rest of your month until we connect next week, or excuse me, next month. Back to you, Janet.
Carla. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, everyone.